Okay, it's a week later and I'm back at school end. As you can see, I didn't actually manage to get the box back in the tree, partly because the strut that holds it in the tree broke off. So a bit of frantic manoeuvring with bits of wood and table and things, and it's been on the table for a week. And I must admit, I half expected to come back and find out it had fallen off, but it hasn't done. Right, let's just get a little bit closer. It's absolutely heaving, absolutely heaving. I shudder to think what's going on inside there. Anyway, shouldn't complain, I suppose. The next stage is going to be in a couple of days' time. Once I'm feeling brave enough, I'm going to come up to School End and move this thing to Ravensden, where the top bar hive is. And let's have a look around the side, because they seem to be very busy around the side. Yeah, there's a little crack they can get in there. There's so many bees are struggling to get in and out the entrance. So we'll be back in a couple of days. Okay, we're at Ravensden. It's about 6:30 in the morning. I covered up the hive last night, the swarm rather, with the sheet, ready for this morning. So I got down there. There were still a few bees flying around, and I closed up the entrance and wrapped up the sheets over the top of the thing. Although, as you probably remember from the previous video, there is a slot in the side where they seem to be coming and going, and that's pretty much what they're doing at the moment. So they're not overly impressed with all of this, and what I'm going to do is just lift off the sheets, open up the entrance so they can come and go, and then come back another day and have a go at switching them from that thing into my beloved top bar hive. So let's see how this turns out. There it goes. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There we go, look at that. There's a few of them I've got out, haven't they? And I think I shall just back off a little bit. Come around this side when there's even more, and there they all are. The entrance, unfortunately, is pointing the wrong way, so I'm just going to turn the camera off, move the thing around so the entrance is at the front, and then we'll come back in a day or so and start the process of getting it into the top bar hive. Here we are again at Ravensden. Today's Friday, and I've obviously left this thing for a day or so. When I came up yesterday, the front was absolutely smothered in bees. I think it was just simply too hot for them, and they were what's called bearding. So because the box is pretty much disposable, various things are broken, I'm not too bothered about using it again. So I prized the lid off to give some space here for them to get in, and this morning things are much more normal as far as this thing can be normal. From here I can see masses of comb and masses of bees. Sigh. So let's get on with this. The idea today, the objective today rather, is to get the bees out of here into this thing which is my top bar hive. Now I've done a blog about this already, but I'll just quickly go through some of the problems that I'm going to face today. Not least the fact is that they're completely incompatible. Now the frames that are in here are this sort of thing, what are called nationals, and the wax sheet would normally be in here, and it's supported top, bottom and sides and so it's fairly rigid structure. These things, however, don't operate like that at all. All you do is you put a series of bars across the top, which look like that, and the bees will build the comb down there in a sort of like a rough semicircle themselves. So with this thing here, there are a couple of these in there, and the problem with that is that they don't fit. So what do you do? Well, what I've done, what I will do rather, is I'm going to have to cut the sides off here and hopefully drop them in. The other thing that I've done is that normally when you're building these colonies up, you'll put these bars in, but maybe just put a little bit of wax in there just to give them something to start with. Now there is clearly a huge number of bees in there, so they're going to need a little bit of help to get started. So I've done two things. Firstly, I found a skanky old National frame, cut the bottoms, cut the bottoms and the sides off, cut it into the shape that will fit. So this will give the queen something that she can work on straight away, and equally the bees will have something to start hopefully building up nectar and pollen and that sort of thing. And rather than just have something relatively small like this, I've made a few of these, which again are National frames, and I've just butchered them into the shape that they should be. So again, they've got 3 of these, I think it is, I've made, so they've got something to work on. This is just wax, but at least they'll better start on something. The big problem is going to be not so much the frames that are in there, but the comb that the bees have built. Given space in the hive, bees will do one of two things. If it's a small space, they will fill it up with propolis, this sticky substance. If there's more space, then they will build comb to fill it up. So there's going to be lots of comb which is going to be attached to this box in some way, and I would like to be able to get that comb out and put it into the top bar hive. Now when you do this sort of thing on a National beehive, what you can do is cut the chunks of wax out and then put it in here, this frame, and hold it in place by elastic bands. So it's inside the bands there. The problem with this obviously is that these don't fit in there, so what am I going to do? So I'm going to try something. Note, try. Is that I've made some of these things which are just the bars themselves with some garden netting on. So what I'm going to do is hopefully cut chunks of wax, the comb out of here, put the comb on here, then fold this over and stitch it up here so that it's like a bag, and hopefully the girls will then build it up. You can also use raffia, which I have got some somewhere, but I think the trouble is without having something supporting it, the wax will just slide through. Equally with elastic bands, it will cut through the wax. So that's your mission should you decide to accept it, which I'd rather not. So that's it for the time being. I will stop the camera now, get a few things started up, and let the wars commence. You'll notice that I have got full battle gear on today, rather than just some gloves and shorts and t-shirt, as this may be a bit biblical. We shall see. Get back to you in a minute. Okay, let's get started. What I'm going to do first is just lift this up. There's probably going to be masses of bees and comb and stuff like that, so what I might do just as a start is shake some bees in there. So let's just see what we've got. Oops, this thing is falling to pieces. Okay, lots of bees there, yeah. These are bits of comb obviously on here. There's honey and all sorts of things on here about which I have no interest. So I'm just going to shake these bees in first off, just to get things underway. Next up, the frames which we can put in. This is one of the national frames, which is wedged. Just try and clear it from the sides. That's it. Look at that. This thing here is a whole load of brood. I'm going to shake the bees into here. That will come off, and that will be one of the bits I'm going to tie in, hopefully. So we'll put that in there, sideways on. I'm going to have to cut it to get it in. Just having a quick look at the side here, there's brood and loads of honey. Yaroo. Next up, one of the little, okay, not much going on there, but you can see the idea. They've actually started to build it already. Bees in there, so I can just drop this in here. There you go, girls. The other one is even better. Look at that. Look at that. And you've got to love them, haven't you, really? And you can see they're beginning to build this semicircular shape. It's called concatenation. Look it up on Google. So, that can go in as well. It's very fragile, these things. Very easy to break. In they go. Next up is the second, oh grief, the second national frame. Oh, you don't want to come. Oh my God. Look at that. That's going to have to come off, I'm afraid. Back in there. Ripping honey. It'll just about go in sideways. So now we have the horror of what's in here. I'll just bring the camera over. How about that? Good grief. I think what I'm going to have to try and do, in fact I'll leave the camera here so you get a close-up of the horror of all of this. Bear with me a second while I try and figure out how the camera works. There we go. Up a bit. Actually, we'll move it around this way. There we go. So, first thing is just to shake the bees in there. Make it easier to get into some sort of frame. Leave it there. There's that huge bit that's just come off, which is there. Again. cut this off with a bread knife. Oh gosh, what have you done? This is amazing. That's all brewed. All brewed. Oops. There's just tons of this stuff in here, it's ridiculous. And out comes some more brewed. Maybe it was, I left them in the box longer than I thought I had done. Either way, there's a stupid amount of wax in here. Here's another huge bit. Oh, come on. Ow! Marigolds don't stop you from being stung by bees, by the way. Big bit there. Oh yes. Oh God. That is also brewed. Just loads of it. I don't want to squash the girls if I can really help it. So, blimey. Okay, next big bit. Actually, look at that. Look at it. What sort of queen have I got here? Some monster. So, just have to rake the stuff around, and in a minute, let's try and brush them in. Although I did get stung just now. I think that's quite calm. It's a lot cooler today. They were pretty pissed off yesterday. And I think I'm just going to have to try and cut this glass. Oh my God. Good grief. Watch this. Look at that. Amazing stuff. Still going to frames, hopefully. And there's more. There we go. More there. There is a great big chunk of it at the back here. This is stuff they've made themselves, I would remind you. And here it comes. Oh, she's just stung me. Then just keep brushing them down there. Hopefully she's down in the bottom there. Hopefully they'll all want to join up. That'd be nice. Another bit here. Quickly just drop that in. Right. The smaller bits I'm not so bothered about. I'll leave them out here. I want to get the bees off this so that hopefully I can just leave it with the box with just primarily bees in, and I can just shake them all. That's going to be fun. Into the box, into the top bar, sorry. There's a big chunk down there I might try and get. It's loose. Just leave these bits out here. Hopefully once they've settled, they will then come back and take all the honey out of this stuff anyway. But there's just frigging tons of bees in there. This thing needs to come off, I think. But for the time being, I'm just going to turn the camera off. And then, oh, there's another bit, come back, I'll just get the camera to see what's going on inside the hive, in the box rather, and see, look at them, absolutely everywhere, and also there's some on the outside as well. This is my attempt at this is my attempt at making it like a cradle, if you like, for the bigger slabs of wax. Actually, go straight up. That's it. There you go. This is just this garden mesh stuff with a piece of cone I've taken out, and I've essentially sort of made a little cradle for the thing. So it doesn't seem to be too bad. The gaps are big enough for the girls to get in and out, hopefully. So I'm going to do a few of the bigger bits of this and try and get as much into the top bar hive as I can. I've spent the last 5 minutes or so just taking the lumps of comb and brushing as many bees off as I can into the top bar hive. And what I've then done is put the comb over there. Yeah, well, that's screechy. Yep, and so there's not a lot of bees on there. There's bits of comb that I've got brood on, which is there, and there, and there. Tons of honey. Now, although the bees have made all of this honey, it's an odd thing that once something is external to the colony, it suddenly becomes food, in the sense of they're essentially recycling their own food. So if I leave this here, the bees will actually come out, take the honey and nectar I've added and take it back into the hive. So I'm happy to leave this here. Now, to show what a sort of sad individual I am, I do watch various YouTube videos about swarms, bearing in mind what's been happening this year. And there's an American guy called JP, and he is a professional, and he gets called out, not so much to swarms like Remy's swarms, that sort of, but things that have been inside a house for years, and there's millions of bees there, and he has this extraordinary ability in the face of millions of bees to reach in and say, "There's the queen," in a deep South accent, which is quite a feat if you can do it. The reason it's such a good idea is that once you've caught the queen, all the other bees are going to be attracted to her. So what JP does is he puts her in a queen cage, puts her in the box, and just lets the bees find her. Now, mostly with, you know, you've seen how many bees are in here. The chances of finding the queen is somewhere about the square root of 0, shall we say. However, I'm looking in there, and what do I find? But I find the queen. Look at that. I can't believe it. She'll come around. You see yellowy greeny dot on her back? And she's just there. And I cannot tell you how much easier this job has now become, because she's going to stay in there. There are other bees in there, but they'll work their way out. I'm going to leave her in the bottom there, quite close to the entrances, which are along here, and let the bees find her. I can't believe I've done that. Beautifully marked by whoever did it. So I'm just going to leave her down here. Oops. And this is going to be the fun bit. This is going to be shake the bees. I'll do it from the back so you can see what's going in. Move the camera up a little bit. And here we go. Oops. Oh, that's it. Thank you. Okay, girls, she's there. All right. So let's have some bees in there. In fact, the box is now collapsing, which is good. Makes life a little bit easier. And in you go. Well, the other bit of the box, same thing. So, there's a large number of bees in there now. One thing I'm going to do as well is have this sheet come up to the hive. Because believe it or not, they will walk up that. Look at them. Bless them. They're going to start walking up to find the queen. If I can just move the camera yet again. You see the bees there? Where's my finger? There, there, and there, and there. They're sticking their bums in the air, and they are producing a pheromone called the Nasanov pheromone, which is basically saying, get in here, girls, and hopefully that will attract them in, as will having the beloved queen in there. I think that's it, that's fine. So, I think that's it for the time being. I'm going to have a lay down. Feeling emotional, and we'll come back in a minute. This is just a quick update. I've been faffing around for the last 20-30 minutes or so. What I've done is, as queen has been found, that does change things quite significantly. And what I've done is all of the big chunks of wax that was cut out of the box, the RAF have arranged a flyby in recognition of me finding the queen. What I've done is the bigger chunks of wax I've put down here, The girls will eventually consume all the honey and nectar that's in there, although they've got one or two other things on their mind at the moment. Because I know where the queen is now, I'm only really interested in the stuff that's got brood, which is that stuff down there next to it. So I'll make up some frames and suspend that in there. Over here they are. I've left bits that have got honey in them so that they can, and they are, as you can see, consuming it, and they are gradually working their way up the sheet to get into the hive, which is fine. In the hive there is a lot of bees in there. There they are. I've chopped all of the both of the national frames that are in the bait box, bait hive thing, and if I go sideways on it, you can see this one. This one's got a fair amount of brood across the bottom there. They've made a lot of honey, so they may as well keep that. Queenie is down there somewhere. I can find her. There she is. Sorry, darling. There she is in there. Amazing. Can't believe I've done that. Let's just have a proper look at her, make sure she's okay. There she is in there, little green spot, which is great. So I'm just going to leave her sort of like that, and let the girls find her. So the next thing I'm going to do, as I said, is to put these bits of brood into frames, and that's pretty much it. I could sort of hustle them in if I wanted to, but they've had a shitty sort of day really, haven't they? So I'm quite happy just to leave them to find it on their own, which they will do. So a bit of a break and we'll be back in a while. It's now 4:30 and is the end of a very long day. I was dreading doing this and considering the possible outcomes of all of this. It actually hasn't turned out too badly at all. Not least the fact, amazingly, that I found the queen. So, as you can see, there's still an awful lot going on. Down to the left here, where the roof is, that's where I had a lot of the honey comb, which the girls were helping themselves to. Interestingly, they'd really started to tuck into this thing in the last hour or so, and are taking it back to the hive, which is a good sign. Around in front of the hive, I'll just come a bit closer, are all of the bits of the comb that have got honey in, and they are certainly enjoying it. Where are we? That bit there. You know, they're all over it. Here, this is the top of the old swarm box, and all of this here is honey. So they're retrieving it and taking it back, which is absolutely fine by me. You can see the bees are sort of coming up the side there. You can see all of them on the top there. Again, I'll just get a bit closer so you can see what's going on inside, possibly. Excuse the camera action here. There are quite a few bees in there, masses of them. And I have to say, at the risk of sounding like an Oscars award ceremony, I would like to thank the bees for their part in today's production. They've been extraordinarily good-tempered. I did tog up in full battle gear this morning, and there were so many bees flying around that you know, that's really what I had to do. However, they are now settling down okay, so I've got my jacket on but no gloves, and I think I just need to change the camera angle again to show you a couple of things that have happened. I'll try and get a bit closer. There we go. The lumps of brood have been tied into these little sacks, and I put this one on a couple of minutes ago and they're working on it already. Bless their little hearts. So they can get through the mesh okay, and hopefully they will stick it to the top of the bar. Equally, the national frames have been chopped, and excuse me girls, might just show the camera what you're up to. Look at them. Yeah, they're getting right into it. Both sides as well. One of the problems about this sort of hive is because this is unsupported, this is quite fragile and easy to break, so we'll put it back and leave it on. I've still got a few things to do. The national frame's a bit too wide, I need to chop them, but they've had a hell of a day, so I'm going to leave them alone for today. They're going to be like this probably all evening, and it's also quite warm, so I'm going to put the roof on. But I found a couple of bits of wood to put on either side so the bees can continue to get in under the roof, and it won't get too hot for them. They've had a pretty stressful day. See if I can see Queenie. Nope. There's quite a few drones down there, great big fat one down there. So let's get the roof. This is a bit awkward to see, to say the least. I'm going to try and find some way of hinging it. Excuse me, girl. You're going to fall over, aren't you? I know you are. Nope, never doubted you. So, they have a bit of protection, but equally they can get in and out. So there we are. Hands back to fade. That's it for now. I could keep on encouraging the bees to go in there, but they know what to do. They don't need to be told by me what they're doing. And so they will do their stuff. They will take all the honey out of here. They are going to go in there, and although they don't know it, these are going to be the least interfered with bees that I have, which after the day they've had today, they'll be quite pleased to hear. So that's it for today. I will come up every day just to see what's what, and may well, what are they fighting about? What's the problem, girls? It's a dead body they're trying to get rid of. Yeah, I'll come up every day or so, and we can see what they're doing. Eventually I want to get rid of all this stuff, obviously, but for the time being it's theirs, they made it, they can do what they like with it, and I'm going to leave them alone.